Surveyor BB, please come and tell us our purpose of being here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The purpose of our gathering today has been a yearly assignment, if I may say so. First, let's say the President, Ghana Surveyors Institution, survey Dr. John Amaglo, Governing Council members, past presidents, colleague members of the institution, and participants, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. We are so privileged and to have you for this special occasion. Now, on behalf of the leadership of the Land Surveying Division of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, it is my pleasure and privilege to welcome you all to the 2021 LS Seminar, Annual Seminar. We are grateful, very grateful to our Lord for this occasion. Although we are with COVID-19, the Almighty God has find a way for us to gather and still have our seminar through Zoom or physical, which some few people are here. Now, the theme for this year's seminar is Land Art 2020, that's at 1036, and the surveyor. As much as possible, as surveyors, sometimes the law is what gives us a bit of a problem when we are faced with judges and lawyers in courts. So we took advantage of the new act, which actually will direct land surveyors to how we can have our operations and have it safely. On that note, we actually have invited some members of the association and some lawyer to take us through our role in the Act 2020. And we hope you're going to enjoy this seminar by all the packages we have. Again, we have something about hydro, which most of our people don't practice. Our main concern is almost all the time is on cadastral survey, which we call the four corner. Now, we want to reintroduce to members because everybody is aware of hydro. Now, we have introduced hydro discussion. This one is a panel discussion which will involve all of us. We have a discussion. They will tell us what hydro is, the benefits and the progress of hydro, and where we can also enter as surveyors. And if there are benefits, we make use of those benefits. On that note, we also, for this year, try to bring up our young surveyors, YSN, Young Survey Network, to also partake in the seminar so that whatever it is, as we are growing, we need to leave behind our juniors to take over from us when we are not there. So we actually try to give them some 2-3 slots to come educate us so that we can assess them at the same time, appreciate what they have for us. If there are questions, we ask them. If there are corrections, we correct them so that next time they can do it better. So that when we are even invited into FIG or somewhere and we don't have the time or the strength, we can send them to go and represent us. So we have brought in the YSN to come and partake in this year's seminar. On behalf of the chairman of the LS division, members of the planning committee, and on my own behalf, I would like to thank our resource persons, everybody, and all who has supported us to have this seminar program in place. So on that behalf, I say thank you very much and keep listening to us as we start the seminar today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Surveyor Bibi Akwa. The next on the program is for us to get a chairperson, and I want to call on Surveyor Isaac Brebo to introduce our chairman for this very occasion. Surveyor Isaac Brebo, please.
Thank you, Madam MC. It's an honor for me to introduce the chairperson for this August occasion. He's one of us. He holds a doctorate degree in business administration from the Walden University, Minneapolis, USA. Commonwealth Executive Masters of Business Administration from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, Ghana. He also holds BSc in Geodetic Engineering 1990 from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. A certificate of proficiency in French level 2 from Alliance Française. Certificate of proficiency in Spanish intermediate 2004, Central Cultura, Malabo. He was admitted a member of the institution in 1998 and was elevated to the class of fellow. He was once the chairman of the LS division from 2012 to 2017. He then became the vice president of the institution, then to senior vice president of the institution. An associate member, Ghana Institution of Engineers, that was in the year 1993. A member of Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. Member, Education Committee of GHIS 2009 to 2011. Member, Building Committee 2009 to 2010. And then 2014. Between 2015 and 2016, he was a co-opted member, Website Committee 2007, 2008, a member of the Governing Council from 2008 to 2000 to date. He was once a member of the Finance Committee of the Governing Council, a member, Strategic Planning Committee 2014 to date, and then he has over 30 years of experience in the various aspects of geomatic engineering. His areas of specialization include power transmission line survey, ground control survey, road surveys, route location, building construction supervision, and asset mapping. He serves as a consultant to several firms undertaking GPS-related surveys. He has experience in the use of different brands of global positioning system. Then he serves as a resource person for GHIS CPD seminars, that focus on impacting knowledge in modern trends in survey. He also serves as resource person for Architects Registration Council, the Deputy Managing Director, Joe Ama Geomatics Consult Limited. And our chairman for this occasion is no other person than Surveyor Dr. John Amaglu. Surveyor President, your audience. Audience, our chairman. Thank you.
Yes, I want to seize this opportunity to invite a few people to support our chairman for the occasion. And ladies and gentlemen, I believe you join me to welcome our own LS chair, Senior Surveyor J.C. Aqua, to join our president. Thank you very much. Surveyor Aqua, you are welcome. In that regard, I would again want to welcome our own Surveyor Joseph Amagro to also join. Sorry, Dr. Is it Dr. Surveyor or Surveyor Doctor? Okay, so Surveyor first before the doctor. Okay, I'm very sorry. Then Surveyor Dr. Joseph Amagro, please join us. Yes, please join us. Please join us. Thank you very much. Most grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Please forgive me. Yes, next is for us to hear from our chairman. Thank you.
Good evening to you all. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be among you this evening. Surveyor Isaac Blebu, it could have actually make it a little bit shorter. Thank you. Yes, I'm sure a lot of people are online watching us, though a few of us are here. So I want to use this opportunity to actually acknowledge them, governing council members, past presidents, and colleague surveyors. It is an honor for me to be made the chair of this August program. Though it is the norm that any seminar being organized by the division should be chaired by the president. So I'm just coming to do my duty. Thank you very much. I am very grateful that the theme for this year's seminar is about the Land Act 2020, Act 1036, and the Land Surveyor. I think this is the time we have to seriously be discussing issues on the Land Act. It should be the top priority. As you know, we as land surveyors, the law is on our side. And now that another law is coming, which is coming to actually make our profession being supported firmly, and we will be looking at a situation where the popular term of Langardism will be things of the past. I think we should see ourselves discussing this issue more. But unfortunately, as I look at the team, I've realized that you've been able to actually get a seasoned lawyer to discuss this Land Act. And you sandwich the Land Act with hydrographic surveying, which is a profession that I can say most of us are not practicing. So today, if you are coming to talk about the progress and the prospects of hydrographic surveying in Ghana, I think it is in line. I don't want to bore you much. I know the panelists will do justice to the issues, and then let us start having interest in hydrographic surveying. I want to use this opportunity to ask each and every one of us to pay attention and listen to the discussions attentively. On this note, I wish to humbly declare the seminar of LS Division 2021 duly open. Thank you.
Thank you, President. We are most grateful. Yes, I think at this juncture, we want to zoom in to our topic for today. As already explained, the progress and prospects of hydrographic surveying in Ghana. And rightly said by our president, hydrographic survey is a section that most of us as surveyors have not explored. And we want to unveil this section of surveying to all and sundry, so that even as we go through our day-to-day activities, we will give that section some attention. I want to use this opportunity to once again invite each and every one of us to pause in whatever we are doing and wherever we find ourselves to give this topic some prominence. Before we invite the panels to take over, I want to seize this opportunity to invite our own LS Divisional Chair, Senior Surveyor JC Akwa, to give us his address. Thank you.
Thank you, Sobia Mercy Champong. Mr. Chairman, who is the Soviet President, Dr. John Amaglu, past presidents who have joined us, Governing Council members, Chairman and the Planning Committee members of this seminar, colleagues, surveyors, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to address you at this year's seminar, which seeks to draw our attention to responsibilities in the new Land Act 1036. Also to equip ourselves with new technological innovations and new techniques in our field of surveying. The theme for this seminar, Land Act 2020 Act 1036 and the Land Surveyor, is very appropriate because the various existing survey laws which control our practice have been revised, harmonized, and consolidated in the Land Act 1036. Provision has been made for stringent J terms for various offenses related to land in the Land Act 1036. I believe no surveyor will fall foul to this provision. I appeal to you all not to miss any of the 4-day sessions from 16 hours to 18 hours each day. In conclusion, I would like to commend the efforts of the planning committee and their chairman for organizing an amazing advert for the 2021 seminar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, LS Chair. We are most grateful for your address. Without much ado, I would want to seize this opportunity to invite my panelists to take their seats. As they move, I would want to call on Surveyor Sebastian Senior Boche. Come again. Bo too. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. Surveyor Sebastian Senior Boche. He is from Survey and Mapping Division of Lands Commission. Surveyor Sebastian, you are welcome. Yes. Next on the list is Dr. Yao Mensah Asare. Dr. Yao Mensah Asare. Yes, I can see him smiling at me. Dr. Asare, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Please, you can give us a wave. It's okay. Yeah. Yes. And then next we have Surveyor Isaac Brebo from Bless Geo Consults. Bless Geo Consults. Please, I want to go back with Dr. Yao Mensah Asare. He is from the Department of Geomatic Engineering, KNUST. KNUST. Yes. Surveyor Isaac Brebo, you are welcome. Yes. Next on the list is Surveyor Tony Novo. I guess I've gotten it right. Yes. Senior Surveyor. I think he's on his way. He may be joining us as we move on. Next, we have Surveyor Isaac Yerenchi, Ghana Port and Harbour. Surveyor Isaac Yerenchi, Ghana Port and Harbour.
I've written the letter. I realized I didn't.
Surveyor Yerenchi, you are welcome.
So
yes. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. And our moderator for today's discussion is no other person than our dear Surveyor Kingsley Boateng. Ladies and gentlemen, please, here are your panels for discussion and your moderator. Please, let's all get seated around our systems and enjoy this healthy discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam MC.
Thank you, Madam MC.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam MC. We are most grateful to have all of you. And I am Kingsley Boateng, as mentioned, and I'm here as the moderator of this August program. And, as mentioned earlier on, we're going to discuss a topic that is dear to our hearts. And before we do the panel discussion, I'll give a little introduction, of which my panelists will be introduced, and then we can kickstart. I must say, hydrography is a branch of surveying, and it is an applied science which deals with the measurement and description of the physical features of oceans, seas, coastal areas, lakes, and rivers, as well as the prediction of change over time for the primary purpose of safety of navigation and in support of all other marine activities, including economic development, security and defense, scientific research, and environmental protection. In addition to supporting safety and efficient navigation of ships, hydrography underpins all other activities associated with sea and water bodies, including resource exploitation, fish, minerals, environmental protection management, marine boundary delimitation, national marine spatial data infrastructure, recreational boating, maritime defense and security, tsunami, flood and modeling ocean floor, coastal zone management, tourism, marine science. Hydrography, or simply put, hydrographical survey, is critical to us as surveyors, since when the word land is mentioned, it typically includes the sea and other water bodies. Of course, we all appreciate the fact that our planet is 2/3 water, and so when we mention hydrography, it should be of importance to all of us. Nevertheless, with the promulgation of the Land Act 2020, Act 836, which is meant to revolutionize land administration and land tenure system in Ghana. Hence, we as professional body wish to leave no stone unturned, and by so doing have selected this topic for the panel discussion, of which we hope it will enhance our profession and take us to a higher level. Without much ado, we will quickly run through our discussion, and I might say I have able panelists, and with me I have Sylvester, who is coming from, or who is the head of the hydro section of the Lands Commission Survey and Mapping Division. Sylvester, you can wave. Good. And then I have Dr. Yao Mensah of Geodetic or Geomatic Engineering, KNUST. Doc, can you wave us? That's beautiful. Doc is with us from Kumasi, so Doc is virtual. That's fine. One of the good things that the COVID has brought. And then we have Surveyor Engineer Isaac Urenchi, who is the head of Hydro and Survey in Ghana Ports and Harbors, with us also. Isaac. And then we have Surveyor Isaac Blebo, who is whose specialty has to do with hydro survey or hydrographical survey, and he has had an immense experience with that aspect of survey, and so we have him here to share with us the immense acquisition of knowledge that is had. Unfortunately, Surveyor Nouveau should have been with us, who also has an in-depth knowledge about the subject, but unfortunately, his disease, and may the father's soul rest in perfect peace. I'll go straight to the discussion, and we'll kickstart. What we're going to do is to go through the discussion, and after which we would give the chance for our audience to also ask some questions, of which the panelists would answer directly, and we will try and make some meaning out of it. Thank you. Now, Xavier Yuenchi, I must say that when we mention hydrographical survey, we all know that Ghana Ports and Harbors is in the lead. Xavier, can you please tell us what the Ghana Ports and Harbors have been doing over the years?
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I must say I'm very glad to be here. The issue of hydrographic survey, I know most of us know hydrographic survey. At least we've had 1 or 2 courses in them for us in school. But the issue of the practice that most of us have never actually tried. At the port, that is our business. In fact, the business of the port is to ensure that goods come into the port safely, and the vessels will also leave safely. When that thing is done, then it means Ghana Port and Harbour, we are successful, we are going to get whatever we have to get. And goods will get to the people of Ghana, and everybody, the economy will be moving as is expected. So ensuring that vessels come inside the port safely is our business. I mean, for the Department of Survey. And I'm glad I'm playing that role at the port, and then I have a team of about 6 who are helping me to do that. First of all, I want to talk about safety of navigation, which is our main issue. Vessels come in with different drafts. By drafts, I mean the depth, in fact, the part of the vessel that is underwater. You have, for the Tema port now, we have up to 16-meter drafts. We have 8, 12, and then 10, and a few of them. How do they come in? How do we make sure that they don't come and the vessels will hit the ground and then have problems? If they do hit the ground, it means that we are in trouble. We are talking about insurance. We are talking about blacklisting the port. We are talking about so many things that will go against the port. So our duty is to make sure that at every point in time, we are assured that the draft that we have advertised, that this is the depth of water that we have in the port, it is true and sure. Otherwise, there was trouble. The department, what we do, continuously we monitor the depth of water, ensuring that what we have advertised to the international community, it is there. If we have any challenges, we have to actually notify the international community that for this reason or the other, okay, this thing has reduced from this level to this level. So cargo that is coming in, cargo that was coming to maybe a 10-meter draft position, now we cannot have it, maybe now let us reduce this thing to 9. And if we don't send that information across and anything happens, the port will be in trouble. So it is very crucial to navigation in the port. You may realize that, in fact, the outer seas, there's no problem because we have deeper depth there. But as you approach the port, that is where the case is critical. Now, so what do we do? Most of us know it is just about the same surveying principles that we have. But this time, we are practicing survey on the sea. The question is, how do you go about those things? I always refer to the sea as a flooded land. And maybe the land is a dry sea. So most of the things that we do on land can also be done in the sea. So I made them project this thing here. And as you see on the screen, That is about what we need to do. Ensure that a vessel can come safely into the port. Okay, but how do we do this? It's just like topography that we do on the land. How deep is this place? How deep is the other place? In between, where can the vessel pass without any trouble? So it calls for a critical survey of the area, making sure you have enough detail. And most of the time, you have to even go into developing a 3D model. And then you can present a 3D model, have all the X, Y, Z's, and then you make your own analysis as to whether it is safe by the depth that you are trying to declare. Now, talking about equipment, like I said, it's just about the same survey that we do on land. But here is an environment that is dynamic. The vessel is most of the time not stable. You have movements of the vessel itself whilst you are doing surveying. So GPS come on board. We are talking about positioning. In fact, all we are doing is XYZ of the seabed. Practically, that's all we are doing. XYZ of the seabed. So you have something for positioning, okay, and then something for depth measurement. For positioning, currently, the GPS is the most common one that we use. That's in fact the most advanced that we use. But there's been a history of sounding, and we are all aware of how this all started. Lead line. Those were the times that you have a lead line, and you go to a position, you drop the lead line, and then you have it graduated. So once it hits the bottom.
Mr. Operator, we have the lead line. Can you put it on the screen for us to see?
No, we don't have.
You don't have the lead line.
Yes. In fact, well, I thought the discussion will be more than the presentation. Maybe we'll have another time to do a full presentation on hydrography. So those days that we had a lead line, it is one position. You go a distance and then you pick another position, and then you assume in between, maybe the depths are about same, or you assume that you can actually interpolate in between and have some depth. That showed so much trouble, because in between, just like we are doing spot heights, you don't know what is in between, and then you are just assuming. Many accidents have happened because of that assumption. Then technology went ahead, and then we had single beam echo sounder. They were a little better, but then they still were operating just like the lead line, but this time it is motorized. Currently, I think the state of the art instrument is a multi-beam echo sounder. Okay, and that one, good. I think we have an illustration on the screen now. That is our boat that we use for survey. Okay, it's a big one anyway. Yeah, but because we go out of the port and then the waves are very rough, we need something that is about stable. Now, so you look at this and then you see GPS on board or GNSS on board. That is for positioning. Two of them because you need a heading too. You must get a the heading of the vessel. Okay. Now your echo sounder, this one, it is not fixed to the hull of the vessel. We have this is the entry-level multi-beam echo sounder anyway. It's not one of the most expensive ones, but even this one, you need about $180,000 to acquire that one. So we have this one, and we have it by the side of the boat, like I'm showing. That is under the water. So position comes in, the depth is given by the echo sounder. Now the issue of how the vessel is behaving also comes to play. So in this particular multi-beam echo sounder, we have a motion sensor. Okay, that actually senses the motion of the vessel, and then it will correct it as you process to bring this thing to vertical, so that it will just be like you are just sounding vertical lines like the lead line at all the places. So,
If we understand you right, What it means is that it is just like the principle that we do on the land, except that this time you are on an unstable environment. Is that right? Okay, that's fine. Mr. Sebastian, can you also tell us what your department has been doing over the years?
For me, coming from Lands Commission, always survey and mapping division. And then
Speak up a little.
And then it's more or less like what is Land Commission doing with water. But one thing we have to understand that the 100% land mass that we have as the world is purely land. The coverage is just some portions that are a bit lower, so there's a collection of water in that area. So when we are defining anything on land, the water, just as my brother has said, it's just like a flooded land that we are working on. So for the survey and mapping division of the Lands Commission, basically our interest started from actually getting what a tide gauge is, which helps to determine how high or how low the sea goes, and then from there determine the mean of that to be able to determine the height above the Earth surface and height below. I mean, that is what actually initially started, and then came for us to be able to have our various heights on the surface of the Earth, because we were monitoring the sea levels at the same time, monitoring even the temperature and stuff with the tide gauges at the time. So survey department at the time was giving out those data with tide gauges that were mounted at Takoradi and then Tema at the time. So that is actually our involvement. And per the act that established the Lands Commission now, which is helping the Lands Commission to work, has an aspect now to monitor and then supervise and direct all surveys in Ghana, including hydrographic survey.
I was going to come to that. I was going to ask you that the Land Act, is there any mentioning of hydro in the Land Act? So if you can let us know, because presumably you are a regulator, is that right?
Yes.
If I understand it right. And so I expect that you should have some laws, and if you can tell us what some of these hydro laws are, or regulatory laws, you know.
Yeah, per the Act 767, 2008, the act that established the Lands Commission, has at section 20 that survey department or survey and mapping division of the Lands Commission directs, the function of that is to direct, supervise, and regulate all surveys in this country, including hydrographic survey. Now, when you look at that in terms of relation to the Act 1036, there was no particular mention of hydrography there, but there was a mention of Lands Commission having to direct and demarcate and then carry out survey. So what it implies is that the Act 767 is having that effect or that bearing on the Act 1036. Now, when you look at the Act 1036, you look at section 23 and 24, and then you also look at section 83, 84, which stipulated what the Lands Commission is supposed to be doing, that has the right to go and demarcate. So for like delineation of boundaries, which we had an issue with the Côte d'Ivoire, currently going with the Togo boundary issue. We have that aspect there as the law that is backing the Lands Commission to be able to carry out these aspects of hydrography and then other surveys in the country. So basically that is what we have as the commission.
Thank you. I think I'll come to Xavier Rinchi again. Xavier Rinchi, does it mean that this demarcation is going on the sea? You guys are in touch with that? I don't know, because Lands Commission is the one who is supposed to supervise all the hydro or all mapping activities, and then you have portions of the sea that is being demarcated, or I think it's Ghana Oil or something. I don't know whether you have something for us.
No, the port has nothing to do with that for now.
That's for now.
No.
Okay, that is fine. I think in due time we would have somebody from that end to detail us on that aspect. But I'll come to Xavier Blebo. Xavier Blebo, you have had an immense experience on or in hydrographical survey, and from your profile that I saw, you have had the chance of working with a lot of international and some other. You even went to the Gambia to do a lot more things. Can you share with us what the profession has been all this while?
Thank you very much for the opportunity and the question. I think hydrography, as we all know, it's to some extent a green zone when it comes to Africa as a whole, because most of the hydrographic works have been carried out by international companies. And it is until recently that some of the locals of Africa, including Ghana, we are venturing.
Including you.
We are venturing into that space of the profession. My experience actually started from Kole Lagoon. Dr. Pra of blessed memory used to call me the Gata surveyor, because everybody knows that as for Kole, you are only working in the Gata. I developed interest for hydrography working on that project, and then proceeded to read a little more and also pursue a course in hydrography from University of Plymouth. My experience over the years has been that, like I said, it's multinational companies that are venturing into this space. One, because of the capital intensive nature of the equipment, like my brother Yunchi said, that the Echo Sounder, the multi-beam that they have is a little around $180,000. And you realize that because of the financial aspect, most of the companies are not really into it. One, people do not even know that we can survey on water. So sometimes when you tell people that, oh, you're a hydrographic surveyor, they look at you and they want to know what exactly you do. Yes. Like my brother said, what we do on sea, water, or whatever is not different from what we do on land. The only difference is you have different mediums where you are working at. Sometimes I looked at, people give me specifications regarding to what we need to do as hydro. I look at them and I laugh because of the specifications, especially the accuracies involved. Somebody can give you a hydrographic specification and ask that your vertical error should not be less than 2 or 3 centi. Now, you look at that and say, how on earth is that possible? But then you will know definitely that the one who writes the specification is not a hydrographic surveyor. We have standards to which we work to. The highest standard, which is special order, the error budget is about 25 centi.
25 centimeters.
Centimeters, yes, of vertical. And those are the critical areas, like at the port where my brother works. Now, if, like he said, if a vessel comes to the port and leaves safely, they are safe because they've done their work. But if they come and then there are issues that they end up grounding the vessels, the insurance, the company will be blacklisted and all those things. So as a hydrographer, we do the survey to ensure that whatever result we are giving to the clients conforms with the international standards. We have both the vertical and the horizontal errors. For special order, you are looking at the vertical is 25 centi, horizontal we are looking at 2 meters, plus 5% of the water depth. Then we have order 1, which gives you a vertical error of about 50. Then we have order 1B, and then the third order. Those ones are areas that are not too critical, where you have the water depth beyond 100 meters, that there are no issues of vessels grounding and so on and so forth. Basically, what I do, he is doing using the multi-beam. I managed to acquire some single beam echo sounders, and sometimes you have clients who ask you for multi-beam, but because I cannot afford multi-beam, what I did was to add a side scan sonar to it. Now, what the side scan sonar does is it takes pictures of the seabed, just like you have from the multi-beam as it showed us. Sort of. So it takes pictures or it scans the riverbed. If there are tree stumps, if there are boulders, if there are sea mounts, whatever there is on the seabed, you'll be able to see, and based on your experience, explain or tell what exactly the thing is. And so I normally combine that with my single beam echo sounder, which gives almost the same result as the multi-beam.
Let me just come in. There is this thought, or it is a phenomenon. It is a phenomenon that in project execution, the surveyor is the first person to go to the site and is the last person to leave the site. It is the same for hydro?
Yes, it is.
Can you explain that?
Let me use the typical example of a work we did around Tema Newtown, the Send Power. Before the start of the project, we did both topographical survey and then bathymetric survey to know the water depths around the area, because they were going to take water from the sea to cool the system. And then after the water end up cooling the system, when it becomes hot, they pump it back to the sea and then take another water in. Now, before the construction, we did a survey of the area where they want to place the inlet. After the work was done, they did a tunnel underground through to the sea for the intake and then the outlet. When everything was built, we went back to as built the plant that they put down there. And so just like we do on land, where you have your as-built drawing, is the same in hydrography. You are the first to go. They need to know how deep the place is, for instance, to put the structures. They need to know how hard the substructure of the area. Will it be able to accommodate the kind of design they want to do? Though some aspects are geological related, but we as surveyors provide some of those services as well, and then give the results out to the geotechnical guys to do the interpretation. And so I would say that we are the first to go and then the last to go, because after everything is done, you need to as build and have the accurate position of whatever has been placed there.
So it means that that phenomenon hasn't changed.
Not at all.
Now, Sebastian, I think in his presentation, he mentioned some other term, bathymetric survey. And can we know the difference between hydrographic survey and bathymetric survey? Because it looks as if, I don't know whether the two are interchangeable or whatever it is.
I think they are, when we say hydrographic survey, the survey is the act of, let me use the word, conducting kind of like a research or kind of like a project on a specific area. The product of what we have from there becomes a bathymetric map. Now, I always relate this to what we refer to as a topographic survey, as we know. Now, the topographic survey has to depict everything on the surface of the earth, including the topography, how rough, how high or low. The same applies when bathymetry is done. So that process of generating or determining what features are under the water, and then how they relate to each other, how high are those features in relation to the water level, what we refer to as the bathymetric survey, which is similar to the topographic survey we know on. So that relates most of the time as a word that is between kind of hydrography and then, so somebody will say that, okay, I want you to carry out a bathymetric survey, which is the same as hydrographic survey, because at the end of the day, you have a product in that form that will be used to determine other products of hydrography.
Well, well, I think you wanted to say something. Go to the site and the last to leave. Yes. Can you speak to the mic, please?
You know, we have actually expanded the port recently. We have Terminal 3 now. And the question is, how did we go about the project? Definitely, we had the intention to...
I think we'll come to that. Doc, please, you are coming from academia. Doc, can you tell us how you used GIS to support hydro in the Volta Lake project, Doc?
Okay, thank you for having me. I think the Volta Lake project, which I was part, it was quite interesting. And just as you were saying, it's a combination of a lot of things, because it's the main focus was to look for something, which is the submerged timber under the lake. So just as for any survey planning, you may have some desk surveys, or desk study. And in the desk study, what we mostly do is to use the principle of photogrammetry, because before the lake was constructed in 1955, the whole Volta Basin was a forest reserve. So there were aerial photos which were taken before the place or the forest reserves got flooded. So since our interest was to look for these submerged trees, we needed to use some principle of photogrammetry to first demarcate the forest lands which has been submerged under the lake. So after the photogrammetric procedure, then we are able to create what we call the forest stand polygon from the aerial photographs. And then we transfer these polygons into the GIS environment. Then in the GIS environment, we do a superimposition of the forest polygons and the shape of the lake. Okay. And this is very important because if you look at the photos, you will not see the lake because the photos were taken before the lake. So in some instances, you may demarcate polygons which may be at the shallow areas of the lake, or which may even be on land. But until you superimpose the shape of the lake, you will not know. And normally the practice was that after the place got flooded, local people in the area started harvesting the trees, mostly in the shallow areas. Okay, so it was very vital that we are sure that where we are going to do the survey has these forest stands there. So once we are able to do this survey and have this data ready, then we will load this data onto our computers. And typically we have mostly two computers that we use. The one that contains the GIS data, and then the other one which we will connect with the sonar and then do the scanning during the survey process. So for the PC connected to the or the PC with the GIS data, what we do is that we normally will connect it to a GPS because we need to direct where the vessel is. And these vessels that we were using were not on code survey vessels. So they are ordinary small speed boats, which we have turned into a survey vessel. So we needed to be smart and then
Oh,
implement.
you mean local canoes or what?
No, they are silver vessels, mostly made of silver and aluminium. So they are not the wooden type as we have on the lakes. Okay. So that is how the thing is. So basically, once you have this data prepared and then you have your PC, then you are directed to where the forest polygons are. And then when you get to where the forest polygons are, then you can deploy your sonar and then do the scanning and be able to identify these tree stands which have been submerged under the water. So
Doc, in this sense, Doc, were you using single beam or multi-beam as the Isaac Blebo was saying that you have two types of
yes, in our case, we had the multi-beam, and then we also had a high-resolution scanner that would mostly give you results like taking a photograph. So you are able to see the trees standing beneath the water. So these are the two instruments that we were using. And as the earlier panelist said, the multi-beam was quite expensive. So these white guys will always tell you that this one is expensive, so you have to take very good care of it. So we use both a combination of a multi-beam sonar and then what we call the high-resolution scanner, which is able to give us clear images of what is beneath.
So Doc, if we understand you right, what it means is that for you to do a typical project in hydro, it means, or hydro related, you need a certain spectrum of knowledge, not just hydro or GIS, but you need to know photogrammetry, you need to know this, you need to know that. Is that it?
It depends on what you are looking for or what you are doing. Basically, hydrographic surveying is quite broad. It involves a lot of other subsidiaries depending on your interest. So with the knowledge in all these areas was quite good for me as a student. I graduated, and then have not had a single experience of hydrographic surveying. But immediately I went to the field, and then we identified the problem we wanted to solve. We realized that we need a combination of all these principles to be able to execute our work and have the best result.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Let me come back to Sebastian, because you mentioned that from school you jumped onto the project. It means that presumably, I don't know whether you had any license or whatever to practice that. Sebastian, you are coming from a regulating body. Do you need any special license to practice hydrographical survey?
Yeah, thank you. Just as we have in the regulated aspects of the surveys we do in Ghana, you're supposed to be, for every survey, which includes hydrographic survey, you need to apply to the director of survey. Now, basically not like the license we had to do cadastral, but do you have the needed qualifications to, so in the application to the director of survey or lands commission, you need to state your requisite qualification for that to be able to be allowed, whether you have even the equipment to be able to do that. So for now, there's no specific license from the Lands Commission to be able to undertake that, but that covers us or the Survey and Mapping Division as for you to apply or carry out any survey, you need to apply to the Survey and Mapping Division and be approved to go and carry out that particular survey. In that, we inspect that or we expect that you have the needed resources and the requisite knowledge in that field of application.
But would you recommend that the fellow has registered with Ghana Institute of Surveyors LSD?
Yes, of course. It's one of the bases when we are working with, or the Lands Commission is working with any organization that has to do anything relating to survey. You must have, if you have to do anything to mapping or something like that, you must have that recognition from the institution of surveyors so that you are incorporated into it. Yeah.
Thank you. Isaac, let me come to you. There has been this talk on tidal gauge. And ever since time, we know or we've heard that there are some tidal gauges around Tema and Takoradi. Can you give us some details on that?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, the issue of tidal gauges. We all know we had one at Takoradi. I think it was since 1929. And
can you speak to the mic a little?
Yeah. We all know we had one at Takoradi. And I don't know, survey department was managing it. As I entered the port, in fact, frankly, when I came to the port, there was one at Takoradi working. Then after some time, I don't know what happened to it. It stopped working. It was not working for a very long time. And then it was revived again, I think in 2012. And then shortly after, it stopped working.
I think we have the tidal picture there, the tidal gates picture. Can you show it to us? The way it looks.
Yeah, and
now go on the next one. No, go on the next one. Yes, that one.
You see, this is not what it used to be at Takoradi anyway. So no, I'm just trying to give a history.
No, the one in Takoradi used to be in a house. It was housed
Good,
in
it
a
was
room.
housed in.
I think I ever saw it.
Yes, and then there was this issue of expansion of the port. This tidal gating wasn't working, and actually it looked like the location was being needed for the expansion of the port. I wasn't in Takoradi then anyway, but then from what I heard from the director of port then, they were in league with the SMG at Takoradi that they should come for some kind of discussions on where to relocate this, but then nobody came. And then for them, they needed a location for the work to be done. So all the equipment were packed somewhere that whenever the survey department comes around, we'll give them a location to put their tidal gauge. Okay. So when this thing went down, and then, there was trouble that the tidal gauge in Takoradi has been destroyed by the Port and Harbors Authority while they were doing the expansion. But in actual fact, if we can check the data, we realized that it wasn't working for some time. The port actually knows the use of the tidal gauges, so it wasn't like we're going to destroy it for nothing. But actually, I had initiated some projects already to get a new tidal gauge, a digital one. Okay. So we went on, we had discussion with management. They also knowing the value of the tidal gauge to the country and to the port and to research. This is what has come out of it.
So what it means is that now you have two tidal gauges, Tema and Takoradi.
Yeah, we have two tidal gauges now. Yes, and then they are digital.
Oh, they are digital.
Digital.
So they used to be analog.
Fine. You go do some recordings and the rest. Now they are digital. They are online now. In fact, we can access
Projector,
data
please,
now.
can you get us the link to
but
the
idea
data?
The idea was this is data we need for the country to monitor sea rise. Climate change is actually giving us some problem with sea level rise. Are we monitoring this thing? And the port actually also need tidal values for the navigation of vessels inside the port. So actually, the idea was, let us get this and everybody can benefit from it. Okay, academia, Lands Commission, and everybody. It's a matter of collaboration as to how we can get the data.
So what it means is that you now have two tidal gauges and it's functional. It is digital.
It is
beautiful.
digital.
Let me come to Lands Commission. Sebastian. Sebastian, what is the relationship now? What is the relationship? Now we have 2 tidal gauges working digital online that you can access. Please, can you get us a link to see the data coming from the tidal gauge?
Yeah.
So it means that now everything is fine. But from the Lands Commission, what is the relationship now? If we want to have an idea.
Yeah. For
Of
now,
course.
initially when we had that issue to have expertise handling these things, and then just last year or last 2 years, we have started to create a unit for hydrography to be able to get these various data in place. So as we speak, I have discussed with him as the head of hydrography, and also for me as the officer in charge of hydrography. So we have plans underway to be able to have that network and collaboration where we can all benefit from the data and be able to share that data to the public to use. So we are actually in the process. Yeah.
I think that is fine. I think we all know that this tidal gauge is of critical importance to us, and more especially when it comes to our elevations or our Joda, whatever. Xavier Blebo, can you tell us, you have some kind of, we call mean sea level, chart datum, national level datum. Can you tell us the differences? Because I think these things are gotten from the tidal gauge. Is that right? Thank you.
Thank you. The tide gauge is what helps us to correct whatever readings we obtain from our equipment. For instance, if you go out there to go and do your soundings, as part of the reduction or the process,
I mean in the sea?
Yes, both in
or
the
in the
sea,
ocean?
even on the rivers.
Okay.
You can as well transfer, because all our heighting systems are all based on the mean sea level. That's why when you do your topo, you can say that, okay, this area is so and so meters above mean sea level. So it's not just for the use of hydrography, but then it affects what we do on land as well. And so the mean sea level results comes after a period of 19 years. They set up a system to observe the sea level, both the rise and the sea level over a period of 19 years, and then they mean the sea levels to get the mean sea level. Now, the chart datum, currently the difference between our chart datum and then the mean sea level is about 0.96 of a meter. The chart datum is the lowest astronomical tide over that period. So for instance, if every year they do the observation and then they realize that the lowest tide we can have is about 0.01 over the period when they mean it, and then the highest water level we can have is, let's say, 2.5, then the lowest becomes the chart datum, which is recognized worldwide, because most of the vessels, when they are coming, do not have information or any until our people went digital, where people can get the tidal information online. It was a bit difficult getting to know whether they are at high tide or low tide. And so most of the charts are prepared based on chart datum. The mean sea level, like I said, we have the high and then the low. And those ones oscillate. I think our range is between 1.5 to 2 meters as a country. 1.6 meters. That's the tidal range we have. So you can have the lowest and then you can have the highest, but then it will not go below the chart datum. And so all the charts or the nautical charts are prepared based on the chart datum. Now, when you come to the national level datum, I have a piece of information from a senior man, which was based on the new mean sea level from 1961. And then the difference between that one, which is the new mean sea level, and then the national Okay, let me start from the chart datum and then the national level datum. The difference is about 2 feet.
2 feet.
Yes. And then the difference between the chart datum and then the new mean sea level is about 3.15 feet. And then the difference between the national level datum and then the mean sea level is about 0.85 of an inch.
Okay. So all this information was gotten from the tidal gauge.
Not necessarily from, but based on the.
Okay, Surveyor Yonchi, can you top it up for us?
He's saying, based on the readings we have from the tidal gauges, all these things can be reduced.
Okay.
That is what it means.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the essence of the tidal gauge. Okay.
So if I have a hydro project, what do I need from your end? What do I need from the tidal gauge? As an up-and-coming hydrographer, or I'm going to undertake a hydrographical survey, what do I need? What information do I need from the tidal gauge?
You
need
the tidal levels at the time you are surveying. In fact, the thing is, we have a chart datum. The tide is, in fact, it's dynamic. As you are surveying, you are here now. The next time your boat is here. So you ask yourself, so the depth that we measured, from what level did you measure? Okay, so that is the reference that you need. That this is the zero mark. At 1 o'clock, okay, the tide was 0.5. I measured 10 meters. In actual fact, it should be the 10 minus 0.5. That is the minimum water level there. In international practice, you are declaring the minimum water level, so that in the event that you come and there's high water, it's an advantage.
So
if there's low water,
what it means
that's the minimum that you have.
What it means is that you always need a tidal gauge to be able to factor it into your survey.
That is it.
Beautiful. Let's go to Doc. Doc, what relationship do you have between the academia and the industry as far as the practicing of hydrography is concerned?
Okay, thank you. I think Mr. Yonchi at the port, some of my senior colleagues here at the department know him, and previously students from my department go there as road trip to go and observe what is going on. I think I had the opportunity to also go there one time around 2005 when we had a field trip. But in terms of student training in hydrography, I can say that it is a no, because there are no industries in Ghana who are practicing, very few recently, like my senior level. But in terms of students having some form of training, it is zero. So for me, when I finished school and then had job with these Canadian guys, when I got on board, I had some knowledge in hydrographic surveying, but in terms of practical training, it was zero. So I had my practical training there when I was employed. And the interesting thing is that the person who even trained me was not even a hydrographic surveyor. He was a forester, but he had also learned how to do some soundings and depth measurements and using the scanners to identify some things beneath the water. So if you look at the industry, it's not like the other types of surveying that you send students to go on vacation training, that they are able to go there and then learn, because virtually these organizations are not there, unless very few, like my good friend. And I don't think looking at Ghana, he's always working on the projects. These projects come once in a while, and mostly you have a lot of them being executed by foreign nationals. Okay, so academia.
But would you say that would you say that the industry is fertile and that there's a need to create an avenue for some training for students to go into that field? Would you say that?
Yes, it's quite fertile, but the most challenge is the equipment involved in this type of survey. They are way expensive. Buying a vessel, and even not an ordinary vessel, a survey vessel, and then buying scanners, either a single beam or a multi-beam, a side scan, high resolution scanners, they are way expensive. So our local surveyors have not been able to set up well to be able to execute. But I can say it's quite a very good and a promising area, because previously most surveys have been done by foreign nationals, and I think it's a quite green area that we have to.
Thank you, Doc. Let me come back to Sylvester. I know you do some lecturing at Ghana Survey School, and I hear some hydrography, or you train some students in basic hydrographical survey. Can you give us a highlight on that?
Yeah, thank you very much. At the Ghana School of Surveying and Mapping, we have one of the subjects which we dedicated solely for hydrography, at least the basics in hydrography. So we give them the basics of hydrography, what it entails. And so what we are trying to do now, when I took over as the lecturer of that particular subject, is to be able to open that subject up and make it more attractive to students to be able to get into that. So one of the lessons we started with is to be able to get students practice what we learn in the hydrography. So for 2 years or 3 years running now, we have carried out practical projects for assessment. LS Chair is here. He's been one of the panels always judging them. And then we had them to be almost, even one group had the best project in hydrography awarded by GHIS. And Sylvia Blebu has been so helpful in that. So we take like 4 who are interested in the specific project, and then we get Sylvia Blebu, and then they go to do real work on the water itself.
So if we understand it right, so that we have some basic training at
GSM, yes.
Beautiful. Xavier Urenchi, please, can you tell us what organization is an International Hydrographic Organization? And if you know what it is, can you tell us whether Ghana is a member or you are a member?
Yeah, thank you. The International Hydrographic Organization is an international body overseeing hydrography. Ghana became a member 31st July 2019 at the 92nd member. That was about 2 years ago. And there's also another organization, the East Atlantic Hydrographic Organization. That is the sub-regional level. Ghana is also a member. Okay, what it does is to help member nations to develop capacity in the form of training, offering scholarships, and the rest for people to train. And then they also bring people down to come and help in country to set up the hydrographic offices. In fact, quite recently, for now, Ghana's hydrography is actually being supervised by the Ghana Maritime Authority. They are seen as the regulatory body for maritime issues. And so everything is under Ghana Maritime Authority now. And so the office of the National Hydrographic Officer is supposed to be under Ghana Maritime Authority.
So if we understand that right, does it mean that you don't just need to be a member of GHIS, LSD to be doing hydrography, but it will be proper that you get hooked up to some of these international bodies? Is that right?
Yes, they determine the syllabus and the rest for the training. Okay, the hydrography thing is an international one. Okay, and whatever you are doing, you just must make sure that your data fits into the international data sets. Okay,
well, that is the ocean. Good. What about the river bodies?
Good. I'm coming. You see, for the oceans, it must fit into a data set. And then, you see, most of the time, Isaac will tell you, if you have international clients, they want your raw data. Okay. The raw data that you are working with. And at times, some want you to even share your screen with them to see what you are doing. Because that data, if it's accepted internationally, is going to become data that everybody around the world. How did you do your survey? Did you use the right equipment? Okay, can we trust this data? And all those things. So that's why the International Hydrographic Organization is there, and they set the standards, okay, for the oceans, like I was saying. And it's not only the oceans. They believe that the rivers also end up in the ocean.
In the ocean,
so
yes.
whatever, and we have river ports and the rest. Okay, so if there's a port and it's a river port, like we have most of the time in Nigeria, they are also interested in that.
So what if we understand you right, it means that your practice should be internationally based. Is that right?
Internationally based.
It means that you need to.
However, locally, you have a client that is only interested in some small thing somewhere that doesn't go into international data. He just want to see how deep this water is. He just want to see this. That one, you can't say it is being regulated by the IHO.
Well,
but if your data will end up,
SMD would want to regulate
yes,
that.
if your data will end up into something that is international, as in for safety of navigation and the rest, then they are interested in whatever you are doing.
Okay, that is fine. Xavier Blebo, can we zero in into the risk factors?
Thank you very much. Life itself is a risk. There's nothing in life that you can do without risking it. So yes, there are a lot of risk involved in hydrographic survey. Personally, I had not too good an experience working around Ezinibo for the forward operation base, which is under construction. Instead of going to the site to assess the condition there myself before moving there with my boat, I just rely on hearsay and wait with an aluminum boat. We managed to cross the waves, but by the time we got to quite a stable place, the boat was half full with water, with the seawater. And I must say it was only God on our side that we managed to organize another boat to come and help us. And then whilst doing the work, eventually we end up using the canoe, the long one. But because the area of survey was very close to the shore,
The estuary.
not the estuary, was close to the shore, and the sea there at the time was quite
Swift.
raw.
Yeah, okay.
So sometimes you are sailing, and then at the point where you want to
turn,
you realize that either your boat is almost about capsizing, or and so
no, but
those are
do
some
you
of the risks.
Good. Do you need to know how to swim to be doing this, or
Definitely you need to know how to
swim like fish or like lead?
You should be better than fish. So those are some of the risks involved. And then sometimes you go working in areas. For instance, I did some work in Wa on a pond. There were crocodiles in the pond that I did not know. Wow. It was one of my guys who we were doing both topo and bathymetry. And then my guy told me that while doing the topo, he saw some crocodile around. So are you sure it's not an alligator he saw? He said he thinks it's a crocodile. So I called the assemblyman the following day and inquired. He told me, yes, there are crocodiles in the pond, but they are very friendly. They only attack.
Well,
they only attack if you have a bad idea. And so normally my principle is wherever I go to work, I try to engage some of the locals to go with me. And so I have one of the locals in the boat with me. And then from afar, he showed me the nose of the crocodile, a very big one. And I attempted taking the picture. I saw it moving back. And if you see, it was bigger than me. Those are some of the risks involved in what we do, aside the capsizing. You probably running into a tree stump and all those. So as for the risk,
Isaac,
you can't
can
do
you
without
also,
it.
Yunchi, can you also share your some risk experience with us, since you have been in the ocean all the time?
We showed a bigger boat now. Yeah, it is as a result of something. So, because the port is a government institution, Okay, maybe some of, and then the work we do are just at the approaches of the port. Okay, approaches to inside of the port. Maybe we don't encounter things like crocodile. You not encounter crocodile on the sea, and then the waves too. In fact, you time yourself so much well that this is the time the water is calm, and then you have to go. So, but the risk aspect of it is that we once had a smaller boat. In fact, before we actually got into this one, there was a smaller boat, and outside the port, in fact, we actually almost lost the
Equipment.
the equipment.
Not yourself. You don't think about yourself.
No. The boat was okay, but then you see the equipment. When you lose the equipment, and you come back, you know what you have lost. You've lost your livelihood. So those are some of the things that you have to. The waves at times are not predictable, so you actually have to calculate when you are going out and coming in.
No,
so we have not. In fact, myself as a person, I may not have come across some of these crocodile things before.
Surveyor Sebastian, can you also share some experience with us?
Equipment.
Or you are regulating, so you don't go out.
No, we do some of those things, but there are some times where you either underestimate where you are working in terms of depth and stuff, and so sometimes the possibility of you even having other factors out from the where you are to come, and then maybe sometimes there's a wind and then your boat.
Yes, I was going to ask wind.
Something
Doc,
on.
Let's ask Doc. On that project on the Volta Lake, did you ever experience wind? Because I know there's been a lot of wind on the Volta Lake. Can you share that risk with us?
Yes, I think on the Volta Lake, there's a lot of risk. One of them is tree stumps that your boat can go and hit, and then you can get an accident. And then when it comes to wind, it's a major factor. For me, there was a lot of care at the beginning because it was new to me. And right after school, I get to the Volta Lake, very big, and then there are a lot of winds, and then sometimes the waves are very high that the boat just jumps up and then falls down. So it was a bit scary. I quite remember one time we normally go for Saturday camp. So we go for about 3 to 5 days and we sleep on the water. So we dock. We had a bigger boat. We dock and we have some beds inside. You sleep at the middle of the night. The waves will be turning the boat, and sometimes it's scary. One morning we woke up and then realized that our boat has been dragged to the shore and was stuck. It took us about 4 hours to be able to get it.
Thank you. I think it means that hydro involves a lot of risks. Now, I think we'll give ourselves a little time for the audience to ask some few questions for our panelists to answer those questions, and then we will close the curtain. So now, audience, MC, I think you take it up now because the audience, we have virtual and those of us. So whoever comes up, then you can allow the person to speak up.
Thank you very much. I have 4. Yes.
4 questions.
The role of the port in the publication of Star Almanac. Is it being done by SMD or the Tema Port? Because I know the information that you get at the it's recorded at the tide gauge. I know previously the data was sent to UK and they were using it for preparing the Star Almanac for the following year. Then the second one,
that is directed towards Ike.
And then the second one, We know the ports. You use our pillars, survey pillars, isn't it? So then it means that all your jobs are connected to national data. So you collect your coordinates from SMD. Okay. Now, I want to find out the accuracy of the job. Does it depend on the swiftness of the current? And then the last one, we were talking about surveying on the sea or the lake.
Yeah.
We know in East
That's
Africa.
Your number 3.
The fourth.
Okay.
This is the fourth one.
This is the 4th one.
In East Africa, there are about 3 countries: Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. They share a common border in the Lake Victoria.
Okay.
So it means that we know boundary survey is cadastral in nature. So can we say that cadastral is also done in the water bodies? Thank you very much.
Good.
Good.
Yeah, I think
Yes,
to the
yes.
yes.
I think I will start from the last one. There's something called marine cadastre. Okay. So cadastre is done on the sea as well. It's
Please,
something
can you
that
speak up a little?
yeah, it's something that maybe we have not actually delved so much into it. But then there's marine cadastre. And these boundary issues like we are having with Cote d'Ivoire, it's an international thing. In fact, there are calculations that are being done to really demarcate the boundaries. So those issues have come out in several countries, and then successfully they have been resolved. So there are ways of going about the boundary issues. But then cadastre, yes, there's marine cadastre. Okay. The second one is the accuracy. Okay, you're talking about
That's
accuracy.
number 2.
Yes. The accuracy of the job that we are doing, as in the hydrographic survey. Good. I think Sylvia Blebo mentioned a few of the accuracy that we are expecting. The IHO have some standards that you have to follow. Like he said, vertical accuracy. Okay, as in the depth of water, you are looking at something within 0.25, okay, 25 centimeters, actually, 25 centimeters. And then horizontally, for the ports, okay, we have various degrees of accuracy expected. For the port, because of the safety of navigation issue, in fact, you shouldn't go beyond 2 meters, as in horizontal accuracy. And most of the time, our GPS and the rest maybe even do something far better than that. If you have a good motion sensor, okay, that actually stabilize your sounding, that the roll, pitch, and everything is being handled. When you post-process, it's like you are having something vertical from every position. So the accuracy of your motion sensor also determines how accurate your survey becomes. The pillars, with the issue of the pillars, we don't always use the pillars. We don't always use the pillars because you ask yourself, when people are surveying out there in the sea, okay, do you always rely on pillars on ashore? Good. There are various methods of doing this survey. Okay, at times, if you are using the pillars, okay, you're using the pillars just like we have at the port. You have the water-land interface. At times, we want to really make sure that whatever we are picking on the sea matches very well with the land, so that the interface, we manage the two. So we're able to present them very well. That one will use the pillars, but we don't always use the pillars because you have different ways of positioning on the sea.
But I thought that you do differential.
Yes, I said when you want to do that, you can do differential positioning. Okay, but then there are various ways that you can position on the sea, and at times, and in as much as we also do the GNG as the Ghana National Grid. Okay, most of these things also we are going to the UTM. Okay, with these international things, you really work in UTM too. So there are different ways of doing the positioning, and then okay.
And then the almanac, he mentioned
almanac. That one I'm not too sure.
Almanac.
I'm not too sure of what he's talking about because we have the tide. No, the tide that he linked that one with the tide, the tide. But we have tidal predictions. Okay, we have tidal predictions that come out every year. Okay, if that is what he's talking about, unless maybe survey department was doing something different.
Yeah.
That
No,
they can
he
answer
said,
that.
They
he
had the
said
data.
over the years,
Yes,
the data was normally sent to the UK,
yes.
and it's used to help in the preparation of the Star Almanac. So now
no.
that you have reinstalled it, what is happening? Do you do same or that thing
I
is?
may have to say this thing here that you see, the port has a different interest. Okay, survey departments has a different interest. We are looking at safety of navigation in the ports. So the same data, maybe the use of the data will be different from what these guys are using, SMD is using, and what the port also is interested in the port. For us, it is actually, so when we were taking data from the old tidal gauge,
So that's
it
okay.
was
I think
about tidal readings
I
and
think
tidal height.
Seviarinchi,
Any other
you can
thing-
stop there.
Yeah.
Maybe going forward, Sebastian, you are head of Hydro. So I think you need to pursue that agenda because,
Yeah, I
like
think,
Chairman said, this is something they were using. I don't know whether the almanac is still being appreciated or it's no more being appreciated.
For
as we are in
Azimuth's
digital-
observations,
digital. Can we have more questions?
Yes, I think let me go first to Dr. Surveyor Cynthia Boy. She wants to know, can we get the link to the tag gauge data? Surveyor Renchi.
Yes, we can have the link, but I must say that for now it is free. Okay, it is free. But going along the line, we are looking at sustainability and who is assessing data. Okay, so that we know what at times you assess data and people want to know what you are using that data for. In fact, it is helpful. So we are looking at putting some password. Okay, people requesting for data, and then you may be filling the form and we knowing what we are using that data for, so that we can track the use of the tide gauge over time.
Thank you. Okay.
But so we will share the link. In fact, for now that it is free, we can share the
So
link.
now the link is available. We
It's
can look
available,
at
we
the
can have it,
data.
yes, but
and then with time, some modalities will be put in place to see data acquisition. Thank you. Can we have
Thank you.
another question?
Yeah, the link will be shared. Now to change. Okay, now Joseph Owusu said, apart from Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority, which companies in Ghana engage hydrographic surveyors, apart from the ports, Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority, which companies in
That's
Ghana
Blebo.
engage
Blebo, I think you have been moving around.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think apart from the Ports and Harbors Authority, we have Fugro.
A bit louder, please.
We have Fugro. Yeah, it's an international company. That also they are into.
Are they based here?
Yeah, they have an office here. I know. Yes.
Ghana or in
Yes,
Accra?
I know they have an office in Accra. Most of the dredging companies also engage the services of surveyors because if you are going to dredge or if you have a dredging contract, you need to know, do a bathymetric survey to have your initial depths. And then after the dredging, you need to also survey to know the volume of dredge. And so if you want to be Father Christmas, then you can decide not to engage the services of a hydrographic surveyor. So most dredging companies working in Ghana and even in the oil fields, they need the hydrographic surveyors for their work.
Thank you. Can we have another question?
Okay, then Surveyor Bravo, please, if you could do us some favor by listing some of those companies after the program so that we can pick it up from there.
Yeah, you can put it on the
the
platform. I think that should be
question
fine.
Goes to George. He said, who is to ensure the gauge are in good state? SMD, that is Lands Commission, or Ghana Ports and Harbour?
You mean the
To
tidal
ensure-
gauge?
Yes, the tidal gauge. Who is to ensure that they are in good state? Is it SMD, that is Lands Commission, SMD, or Ghana Ports and Harbour?
Good question. If we look at the history of the tidal gauge in the country, I think along the line there are financial constraints. along the finance maintaining this. In fact, the decision to install the tidal gauge by the Port and Harbors Authority maybe have been influenced by the fact that being at the port, okay, and being closer to the tidal gauge, we'll be able to ensure that it is always in good condition. Formerly, SMD staff had to get permission to come inside the port, okay, before they come and do whatever they have to do at the tide station. Here we are working, and my office is just about 20 meters from the tidal gauge. So I think the port will make sure the tidal gauges are working.
Thank you. I think we have another suggestion from Surveyor Hackman. Surveyor Hackman says, Surveyor Renchi may not be aware that in Takrady, I personally met with the then Harbor Director thrice, one of which involved the then DOS Wilson Opoku. We agreed on a new site, and the port promised to construct the platform. So I believe he is not aware, but SMD really made serious efforts. I think this one goes to Surveyor Renji. Surveyor Hackman is just trying to give you an insight of what SMD did during his time.
Okay, that is well noted.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, we have a questioner here.
I want to thank the.
Can you?
My name is Alexander, Surveyor Alexander. So I want to thank the panelists for a great delivery. I have learned a lot from this discussion. My question goes to Dr.
Dr. Yao Asare.
Dr. Yao
Yes.
Asare.
Okay, he's online.
Yes. So, Doc, I'm really interested. I think what caught my attention was the photogrammetric aspect that you talked about, that during your projects on the waters, I think Water Lake, you said you had to employ photogrammetry technology. And I'm curious because the challenge with using optical sensors is that the light rays are absorbed by water. So I want to know whether there are special sensors or there's specific portion, specific portion of the electromagnetic spectrum that you use for this project, such that the effect of water on this light rays is minimized, and you are able to interpret the images after capture. Thank you very much.
Okay. So if I may answer, I think the photogrammetric method here I'm talking about, we use that one to identify the forest stands in the basin before the dam. Because the whole project, our focus was to go and harvest timber in the lake, timber of very high economic value. So here the photogrammetric was have aerial photographs of the basin before the dam was constructed. So the task was to identify the forest pattern from the aerial photographs, and then we use that as a basis to go on the water to go and do our scans to see whether the trees are still there. So that was the photogrammetric aspect that we use. Yeah. But in terms of using satellite and other data for water body delineation, all this is possible, and it can easily be done in remote sensing.
Yeah, I think Brebo can support that. Brebo,
I
can
think
you-
to add to that, there are some LiDAR systems that can also do bathymetry. We have LiDAR bathymetry that can measure up to about 70 meters of water, but then it depends on the water quality. Yeah, the clarity
So
of
what
the
it
water.
means that if the water is polluted,
Yeah.
or what
If the water is polluted, you won't get anything.
You won't get
It should
anything.
be as clear as crystal.
Okay, that's fine. Any question?
Yes, I think there's another question from Surveyor Hackman. He said, what challenges do hydro surveyors face generally and in Ghana in particular?
Isaac, Isaac. There are two Isaacs. So when I say Isaac, I think Juenchi.
I guess we have mentioned a few of the challenges, the risk.
Yeah,
already. I don't know which challenge.
In the water.
Hackman,
right?
I think we've spoken about the risk.
Okay,
risks.
maybe
No,
she's bringing another aspect of it.
Another
I
aspect
think what
of the
you
listing.
mentioned, the risk was
Yes.
when you are in the water.
Yes.
But he wants to know, the risks that face the surveyor in general.
Good.
You understand?
Good.
And then in Ghana particularly, what are some of the
No.
risks?
Challenges. For me, one of the challenges I have.
Speak to the mic, please. Speak to the mic.
For me, as a hydrographer, one of the challenges that I have has to do with finances. For instance, there are projects that I bid for, and then the requirement is we need a multi-beam to do this job. And because multi-beam system, yes, because that is quite expensive, you cannot afford, then the multinationals would definitely go. As we speak now, I can't go into the oil field because of finances as well. So I would say our main challenge has to do with finances, because to venture into that, you need not less than $1.5 million to invest into such a thing. Thank you.
So would you recommend that LSD GHI should acquire one so that you can always rent or something? Would you recommend?
I actually want the division to either go into procurement of a dredger, a dredging machine. We have a lot of water bodies around, and we have international companies doing dredging around. Even if we will not get any company or contract from the government, we can decide to put it on the Volta Lake, dredge sand, and sell. If you go there now, they are using the Galamsey machine. That's what some of the locals are using to mine sand for sale. And I think as a division, that's an area that we need to look at, both acquiring the hydro equipment and then a small dredger to kickstart with.
Thank you. Can we have more questions? Well, let's take two questions and then we'll call it a close. Two questions.
Okay, I think this one comes from Surveyor Kwame Tunedu. It said, what will be the prospects for someone who wants to invest in hydrographic surveying, assuming he or she has the equipment? What are the prospects?
It's fantastic. Actually, if anybody has money and want to invest in hydro now, it's a developing area. And the returns, I don't know whether I can say 100 or 1,000 folds. So it is money. In fact, collaborations from groups or individuals will also be helpful. The issue is when you have one equipment, you can be using it for so many projects, and having it alone, it's sitting down and you alone doing this business is not helpful. If we can come together and have one equipment or one setup, one vessel that everybody can come and hire to do whatever job you have, that would be perfect.
No, but at the port, you always give the jobs to the foreign companies. So what do you have to say? So does it mean if one acquires the equipment, you give the job to the local person?
No, I think it's a tender thing that goes on, and so nobody gives value. People go through tender processes.
Any more questions? Yes.
On the screen.
I think there's another question from Joseph Owusu Ewa. Say, how do we create hydrographic surveying jobs in Ghana? How do we create the jobs in Ghana?
Currently, I am blessed with another company to have won a contract to monitor the Korle Lagoon for 8 months. The idea was to monitor the rate of siltation over a period of 8 months so that they can project and know how often they need to be dredging the lagoon. The mining companies from time to time need to take inventory of their water and then be able to manage the water system. Most of those jobs are being carried out by people from South Africa and elsewhere. Like I said, there are a lot of coastal projects going on, the sea defense projects. All those are jobs that are there. during festive occasions, people go to the beach and then they end up losing their lives just because we do not have information about our coastal areas. So if those hotels along the beaches can engage the services of hydrographic surveyors to survey for them to know the depth around and place some marks or warning signs, I think it will go a long way to save lives and also create jobs for us. So for the jobs, I'll say the jobs are there, but sometimes you need
Thank
to...
you. I think we'll take the last question.
I
You wanted to
yeah.
say something on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, Rinchi.
Even for the Ministry of Tourism, our beaches, we always hear people drowning at the beaches. One of the reasons is that we don't even know the depth of water that is along our beaches. So Ministry of Tourism could be a potential employer, okay, getting people to really do hydrographic surveys along all these areas that people go to swim, okay. And then that is also a job.
And whether
There's so much-
there are sharks.
No, that one they won't be
That one we don't.
You see,
I think-
there's so
yeah.
much to be done on the sea, just like we have on the land. And I won't be surprised that one of these days we'll be talking about marine galamsey very soon.
I think to add up to that, we have several dams in this country. Dams are silted. I mean, their volumes are reduced. They are all hydrographic aspects of it. I mean, take irrigation, for instance. I mean, you want to look at the gravity pumping water from dams into canals to feed. These are all hydrographic aspects that we are not looking at. They create a lot of job in that. Look at the Volta Lake itself. There are several. The only thing is that we're not having the companies form in such a way that because of the expertise and then the equipment to buy to do that. But there are several aspects of hydrographic.
That's
jobs.
beautiful. Can we take the very last question? The very last question.
Last but one, sorry. Are we going? Should I go with this? Okay, now this one from Pakwesi Ezenato. It says, is there a national database of check data, ground truthing data, or benchmarks readily available for surveys done by private surveying firms on request? Is there a national database of check data, ground truthing data, or benchmarks readily available for surveys done by private surveying firms on requests?
Well, I think we would ask Sebastian to answer that question. But more importantly, is it hydrographic survey or land survey? No, that's okay. Sebastian, can you tell us something?
Yeah, for now, if we are looking at if data on our coordinates or our pillars, we have some information on that. I think we have even done some digital that you can get. But for now, the one we have in terms of like private people that have worked, submit the data to us, checked, and then they are kept in our archives. So when you make any request to the Director of Survey, those data can be gotten out. If it's for the general survey we do. For hydrography, people spend a lot of money to do the hydrographic work. And then even though we are supposed to be able to receive that data from them and then check and also keep as this thing, it is not all that data that comes to us. So sometimes they are with a private organization. I think the ports equally have some system like that. So maybe
I want to talk about the National Hydrographic Office that is being formed under Ghana Maritime Authority. The idea is to gather data from every source. We have these guys doing, these petroleum people, these oil fields, they do hydrographic survey, but where is the data? Okay, so GMA is collaborating with all those guys to have data deposited with the National Hydrographic Office so that we can have access to that data if we want. Maybe at a fee, at whatever it is, but then that data should be available. Data along our coast, anybody doing any work along our coast, there should be a means of getting data from them to a national database that we can use for whatever development project that we want to do.
Well, I think a follow-up question goes to Sebastian. You are a regulator. I don't know your input to that or your relationship with the what Isaac Chirenchi is talking about.
Yes, what he's talking about, he's actually the.
Are you guys aware?
Yes, he's a vice chair of that committee. That we call it the National.
Oh, he's a vice chair.
Hydrographic and Oceanographic Committee of Ghana.
Okay.
For which SMD is equally represented.
That's
I am the one representing SMD or Lands Commission on that. So basically, we are actually looking at bringing in the data. So we have all other modalities. I mean, we are also respecting each organization's act that establishes them so that we don't go beyond or we don't do things that are not within our domain. So that is why all other organizations are on board. And
good. I think the very last question that we'll run through is statutory fee or statutory charges. Do we have statutory fees for hydrographic survey? I'll start from Surveyor Engineer Blebo.
Thank you very much. I think as an institution, we have something to that effect. But mostly, my way of costing, or internationally, there are ways of costing hydrographic works. And so what I personally do, sometimes I charge and then I look at it and say, even this work, if I'm doing it on land, it would have been more expensive than what I'm charging for the sea. But what I use to charge has to do with the risk involved in whatever I'm going to do. For instance, if I'm going to work at sea and I'm going to work along the coast where part of the work involves where the waves are formed, I need to charge a higher than if I'm working beyond that area.
The
because
waves.
yes, the risk of grounding, the risk of
losing your equipment
is very high. And if you are working on the lagoon and other places also, the charges are quite different. If you are working within a pond, and also the client you are dealing with involves how to do your costing. So we have the GHIS as a guide, but then you also look at
international charge. Where can we locate that chart?
It's not something that you can find.
But I thought you mentioned international.
No, what it is we know that if you are going out to do a bathymetric survey, a crew of 3, hourly rate for the chief surveyor, maybe $100 an hour. At the end of the day, he's going to take a little around $1,200. So they put all those things together and factor it into the costing. If he's going with there's separate charges for the equipment, you have separate charges for the deck hand and all those other people involved. And so it's not a fixed amount, sort of. It depends on the project you are working on.
Do you have something?
Not for now. We out of the GHIS for now. But as we speak, we are working on some distance like that, including even the technical instruction on hydrograph.
Doc, can you help us with something on the fee charging, hydro? Can you help us? Do you have an idea?
I think it's more from my side because I personally haven't done any consultancy. What I engaged in, I was employed and I was paid monthly salary. So though during my stay there, we did some projects for water leak transport and then some other companies, but it was all handled at the managerial level. I was just
I think that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Surveyor Yonchi, can you finalize that? Do you have some charges at your end?
We don't do commercial surveys. It's a government institution. We are provided with equipment. We are supposed to do our work. These are private people who do their.
That's good. Thank you all. Thank you, panelists. I think we have all enjoyed the discussion, and we are most grateful for the questioners and all the inputs that we have had. And we are most grateful to our president, and then our chairman, and then the committee chairman, and everybody. I must say we are most grateful. Thank you.
Oh, I think we can do it better for the panel. I hope you all bear with me that at least our time with the session have not been wasted. If not for anything at all, we've learned quite a lot of things which are refreshing. I am happy and noted a few things about the discussions which I want to bring to the House and also to LS. I think I noted that the panel suggested that we could come together and then see if we can acquire, hydrographic equipment and then a dredger at least to be able to get, most of our people in good, gainful business if we want our young ones to go into this industry. I also noted that not a lot of companies venture into it just because of the cost, the capital intensive. And I believe together lies strength. If we come together, we could look at it for the common good of the institution. Thank you very much, my able panel members, and then my moderator. We are most grateful. I want us to call on our chairman to give us his closing remarks.
Thank you very much, MC. I always say that it is not in my nature to dilute a stuff that has been well delivered. But let me do just something very brief. We all know from today that hydrographic survey is always done for the efficiency and safety of navigation. And we are also aware that when we want to engage in hydrographic survey, the investment is so high, especially the equipment. But notwithstanding, we are made aware that if we can come together and acquire the equipment in group, the jobs are there. That's why I will pause and encourage surveyors, and for that matter, the division to start looking in that direction so that we'll come together and be able to start moving towards hydrographic survey. Now, there are standards in every survey that we do. And the panelists made us aware that even in hydrography, there are specifications which we must always adhere to. I want to also say that some of us have done some adventures. We acquired a single beam echo sander. I don't know where it is now. One time I brought it out, I realized the screen from the center is becoming very black. Just because it is very difficult to say that you are going to look for a hydrographic surveying job. But if the panelists are telling us that that is the area now, let's all come together and make sure that we pay more attention to hydrography. I'll be interested in the time that people will be doing, how do you call it? How are you calling the Galamsey? Is it ocean Galamsey, marine Galamsey? When it comes to marine Galamsey, I think everybody will be interested. On that note, I want to thank all the panelists for actually opening our eyes, and I think we should all start moving towards getting interested in the affairs of hydrographic survey. Thank you.
Yes, if you have a good chairman like this, it makes your work very, very simple. I want to use this opportunity to thank all of you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. I can imagine in times like this, but you always prove to us that you love us dearly and you always make time for us. We are most grateful. Yeah, twin brother. Yes, I know, I could see that. Yes, we admire your encouragement and enthusiasm. God richly bless you. My Honorable Ellis Chair, we salute. Yes, you've done so well. You've kept us, you've steered the affairs and brought us this far. Yes, we are so grateful and we want to thank you. I want to thank all my panel. In fact, we wouldn't have enjoyed the day and we couldn't have asked anything more than what you have given to us. We love you, we appreciate your efforts, and we say we are grateful. We'll make sure that your efforts put in such deliverables will not go wasted. We will do the best out of it. Moderator, we thank you. You did your work so perfectly and then kept us to time. Thank you very much. The rest of us, IT, we salute. Yes, we are so grateful for making it healthy for us to enjoy this day. I know the test mark, the test system, and all those things didn't come just in hours, but it has been a constant practice. And we say thank you very much. All of us who were able to come here, sit, grace the occasion, we say thank you very much. And to my wonderful people who are virtual, I know how painful, how difficult it is to be, out of the premise and still get glued to your systems, the distractions, the calls up and down. And I was so surprised seeing even the rate at which you flooded us with the questions. Only tells us how appreciative you were and being with us today. We thank you very much and we salute you. We say God richly bless you. I want to say a big thank you to all of you. God bless you all. Amen. Yes, I want to again remind you of tomorrow's program. In fact, tomorrow is something else. Tomorrow we are talking about the law, the Land Act Law 2020 at 1036, the almighty law. I don't want you to miss tomorrow. I wish you could even come earlier than you did today so that we will have more time, more questions, and then to appreciate what the law means to us. And the speaker for tomorrow is Lawyer Kwame Jan. In fact, he's very much prepared. So come prepared and come with your questions. Thank you very much and have a good day. Shall we all rise up and
institution of excellence that's global, brother, leadership, wisdom for profession. Let us come together to the praise of David. Service with integrity till eternity.
Heavenly Father, we want to thank you and bless you for a moment like this. We are grateful for how far you brought us. We commit ourselves into your hands and commit our going back home safely into your hands. We pray for your guiding mercies, that you send us home and put us in our bed and give us sleep, because it is you who give your children sound sleep. We thank you and we bless you in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you very much.